Hey everyone, I'm really excited for this module. It's one of my favorites. We're going to be discussing relationships. But the first thing that we want to discuss is what is a healthy relationship?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for a healthy relationship for me is, am I able to share good news and am I able to share bad news with the people in my life? I mean, I got to be able to be my authentic self and to talk with people freely. If I'm not being my authentic self, it's probably not a healthy relationship.
That's very powerful. I love what you just said there. Being able to be your authentic self is really important because there's a lot of haters out there. There's a lot of people that don't want to see you do good or that are going to drag you down to their level. That's very important. It's also another aspect of having a healthy relationship is adding value to the person that you have this relationship with. It can't be just a gimme, gimme, gimme. There has to be some reciprocation to the energy that you guys are sharing.
Right, and when we're in our active addiction, it's all about me, right? When I was out doing the wrong thing, I didn't have time to think about other people. It was always about what I needed, what I wanted, what I could get from you, what I could get from my family,
Yeah.
and I wasn't giving anything. I was taking everything.
That's exactly what we're going to go over today. Uh, Making sure that you're really adding value to these relationships and finding the right ones for your life. Because in addiction, we are so selfish and we don't realize how we're destroying the people around us. We're going to talk about intimate relationships like boyfriend, girlfriend, mother, wife, husband, whatever the case may be, and close proximity relationships, people that really matter in your life. Whether you have to mend these relationships or you have to strengthen them. Because I know personally from myself, I destroyed a lot of relationships in my addiction.
Yeah, I can attest to that as well. There was a lot of mending. There was a lot of mending for me to do, and we'll get to that later. Right now, we really want to focus on what are healthy relationships. How do we determine who are people that we need to allow in our lives, and who are the people that we need to cut ties with as well.
Absolutely. And by having really strong relationships in your life, you're creating a support system. And I don't know about you, but I think a support system is the number one asset in life in general, but specifically in recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. I would not be where I am today without the people that were supporting me in my life. And luckily enough for me, my family stepped in and helped me and assisted me in my recovery as well. Now, maybe not everybody has that option, but if you have a strong family support system, it goes a long way.
Yes, and not to say that everybody has a support system or everybody has close relationships or intimate relationships, but I can guarantee you, if you're in active addiction right now, you might not have those things, but one day you will. And we're going to set you up with the tools necessary to achieve really healthy relationships. So the first thing I'd like to discuss is figuring out who belongs in your life and who does not. There is so much toxicity when it comes to addiction that there's people that are really holding you captive in your addiction, that are feeding into these things, that are triggering you to use. Or that might be doing drugs with. And the first thing is to take an inventory of your life and figure out who those people are.
Yeah, absolutely. I know for myself, one of the biggest things I had to do is I had to cut ties with the people that I was getting high with, and that's not always easy because you do form bonds with these people, whether you're doing the right thing or not. Like attracts like, so it's really hard in order to do this, but you need to understand that you're trying to go here, you're trying to go on the right path, and these people are not going to be leading you on that path. You're going in two different directions, and when your goals and morals or your direction in life does not align, you kindly have to send people packing on their own journey, and you need to do what's best for yourself. That was difficult for me.
So what I'd like you to do is I would like you to take out a piece of paper and write down all of the people that are in your life. Now, I'm not talking about Johnny from the fifth grade that you've seen 10 years ago. I'm talking about the people that you see on a consistent basis within the last week. People that you see on a weekly basis. You need to figure out where they fit in your life. You need to write them down, and you need to figure out if these people are serving you or they're not. Should they be closer to you or further away? Should they be removed or completely deleted from your life? Or do you need to find ways to get closer to these people? You need to find ways to mend relationships, improve the relationships that you have with these people, because they're very valuable to your life and to your sobriety.
Yeah, and something I like to add to that is if you're having a hard time figuring out if someone should or shouldn't be in your life, what I like to do for myself that's really effective is I like to pretend as if I had a child. Would you want your children hanging out with the type of person that you're pondering if you should be hanging out with? Sometimes it's a lot easier to take yourself out of the picture
Yes.
and implement someone else that you care about, whether it be a family member, a child that you have, because it gives you a different point of view. We're very good at manipulating our minds to serve what we're comfortable with. And I think that's the hardest thing when deciding who needs to be in your life and who doesn't. So that is a tool that can be very helpful.
Yeah, I love working with you because you always add that component that really, really completes the picture. That's absolutely fantastic. Taking yourself out of your mind and putting yourself into somebody else is a good way to change your perception. It's a lot of what we do in coaching. But when you get these, you figure out who these people that you have to delete and get rid of your life, make sure you get rid of them, because they can be that quick. They could be the reason that you might potentially use when things come to shove. And when you find the people that are really valuable in your life, figure out ways to implement them in your daily life, or figure out ways how to make them happy. I talk a lot with my clients about the emotional bank account. Now, for years and years and years, when you're using drugs, you're constantly withdrawing from this account, constantly withdrawing from this account. Yeah. Ma, give me this. Babe, do this for me. Hey, bro, I need this. I need that. Can I borrow your car? Can I do this? And you're constantly withdrawing, and you're never depositing into this bank account. And your funds have been depleted. You are tapped out. You are in the red right now. So you need to figure out who you've been focusing your energy on that's been draining you, and who are the really valuable people in your life that you need to start making deposits with.
And the idea here is that, one, it's comfortable either way. It's uncomfortable either way. When you're trying to make these decisions in your life, it's not always easy, but the right thing to do isn't always the easy thing to do. And for people that are wondering how you go about this, I think this is important too. A lot of people don't know, how do I tell my toxic friends that? How do I separate from them? What do I say? What do I do? Honestly, the best thing you could do is be honest.
Honesty is the best policy.
It really
as corny as it sounds.
Yeah,
in all aspects, in every single situation in life. We're crazy.
Absolutely, because the truth is the truth. It doesn't need any explanation.
It doesn't.
You don't need to remember anything. You don't need to keep putting people on the back burner and I'll see you next week, because it's going to keep reoccurring. So you just want to be honest with the people in your life. And I think you'd be surprised as well. Even the people that were toxic in my life, when I was honest with them, I said, hey man, listen, I'm going on to do the right thing, and I love you. You're like a brother to me, but this isn't going to work out with the direction I'm going. You'll be surprised with some of the responses you'll get. You'll actually find out who your true friends are in this scenario, meaning people that love you, even if it's toxic, will understand and they'll send you on your way. Now, people that want to continue being miserable with their drug buddies and getting high, they're going to let you know how upset they are. So people's true colors are going to come out when you're honest about it. But you need to be honest one way or the other.
Yeah, that's great. A big thing about recovery is accountability and integrity, building back up your integrity. Also having that honesty with these people in your life is going to start building in that way, because when it comes to our relationships, everybody thinks that relationships are 50-50. And that's not the truth. You are 100% responsible for the relationships in your life. 100%. If they lack on their end, that has nothing to do with you. You are 100% responsible for it, and you have to start looking at it like that. Not like a transactional thing. Well, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. Because sometimes somebody's having a bad day, or they're in a bad week or a bad month. You have that relationship because you guys care for one another. And it's going to be vice versa. You need to have people in your life that are willing to take 100% responsibility for these relationships.
And keeping score like that is manipulation.
Yeah.
That's not love. That's not a true friendship. That's not a true relationship.
Yeah.
It's
It's a
manipulation.
business relationship.
Exactly. It's a transaction.
Yeah,
it's like,
transactional.
oh, well, if you do this for me, then I'll get you back. Or, hey, I did that for you last week, so now I'm expecting something in return.
Yeah.
That is not how healthy relationships work, and that's exactly what we're going over here.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is a thought process too, because we're so used to thinking about relationships and important people in our lives, what we get out of it, but we need to flip the script about how we think about these things.
So one of the big important things that you have to understand about people is everybody has a different love language. I don't know if anybody's ever read that book, The 5 Love Languages, but it's a fantastic book. We'll have it in the link. But it really explains people express their loves differently and people receive love differently. And I'm going to go over the 5 with you, and then I'd like to ask you really what your love language is. And understanding other people and what theirs is very, very important for communication. The 5 love languages are physical connection, physical contact. So it's physical connection, touching, hugging, doing things together. That's one.
Showing appreciation.
And showing appreciation. Hugs, kisses, all these different things. Daps, handshakes, all that stuff. Then there is acts of service. That's doing something, baking somebody cookies, going and doing their laundry, or, building them a tree house, or whatever the case may be, whatever act of service that is. That's another language. The third one is quality time. A lot of people love quality time. That's really, really important for people. Building out time specifically set out for that person. Okay, Johnny, listen, I'll meet you every Thursday at 8 o'clock and we'll go run a mile, or whatever the case may be. The fourth is words of affirmation. Some people are very auditory. They love to hear or they love to speak about their love. So if that's the way that they're talking or they're feeling, it's going to be difficult for them to express their love in acts of service, because they're two different things. And the last is receiving and giving gifts. Have you ever met somebody that loves to buy people gifts? I know I have some family members like that. I've had some girlfriends that really liked getting gifts as well.
And that's not my love language.
It's definitely not.
But when you're paired with someone who is, you're like, oh.
Yeah. And you got to understand that,
Yeah, that's right.
It doesn't make it wrong or right. They just express their love in that. The fact that you went out and bought them something and were thoughtful enough to get them something that they really wanted, they see that as the biggest type of love. For me, not specifically. I'm more of a physical touch and acts of service type of person. But it's good to understand who you're dealing with so you can love them the way that they like to be loved and express to them how you like to be loved.
Yeah, it's absolutely crucial, because if you're not on the same page with the people in your life and what their language is, you're constantly going to be disappointing one another.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be cohesive and flow well.
Mm.
Just having an understanding of what your partner likes, or someone in your family, what they enjoy and what they like, just having that information and understanding that exists. A lot of people don't even know that we have love languages. When you're aware of these things, it could take your relationships to the next level. Because it takes awareness.
Yeah, 100%. And these mostly work with intimate relationships, but they're also about friendships. Like I said, for my friends, acts of service is the most important thing. That doesn't have to be quality time, but if they do something for me that was thoughtful, I think that's the best thing. I value that so much when it comes to my friendships, that's how I really bond, and that's how I show my appreciation for people as well. So you really got to know who you're talking to and how you can communicate with them on the best possible level, because communication is key, no matter what kind of relationship it is, whether it be intimate relationship, whether it be friendship, whether it be business relationships. Leaving an open line of communication is huge. And you know what? That's why honesty is the best policy. Because if you're not telling the truth, you're not communicating. It all boils down to that.
And it gets tiring to remember as well.
It really is exhausting. I remember when I used to lie, and I hated it. I had to
take notes after.
I had to, yeah. You got to pull out a book.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, actually, I was there Thursday night. Yeah, and it really comes back to that integrity aspect and the communication and the honesty. And a big thing is that it takes a while for you to earn back that trust because you've been lying for so long.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know this firsthand. It's funny when you think about addiction. You think of instant gratification. You want things back so quickly. You want things immediately. That's how we're wired. That's how we end up being wired.
Yeah.
After a little bit of time of using. And so, I kind of still had this mindset when I got sober. I thought, well, I've been clean for a week. I've been clean for a month. Why aren't I getting this trust back?
I'm dealing with this sort of client right now.
Right, right. And it's funny when you're removed from it and you see it.
Yeah.
But I was just like that. But when you see it from a different perspective, it's pretty mind blowing. But the idea here is that you have to be patient, because if you've been walking around in the woods for 10 years, don't expect to get out in 10 days. It takes time. It does. Yeah. And that's what makes it worth it. You got to earn it back, because guess what? We end up hurting the people that we love in our life. We end up hurting them. And we're basically on a mental vacation all the time because we're not present with our emotions, and we're not present with what we're doing to people. We might know it, but we don't feel it, because we're not attached. We're not attached to our emotions. So it takes patience, and you need to accept the fact that some people might trust you a little bit sooner than others. For someone, it might take a little bit of time. It might take a lot of time. For other people, it might not take as much time. It just depends on the individual.
And you have to accept the fact that some people just don't want to be in your life anymore because of all the damage that you've done. And we're going to talk about this because this is very, very important. So you've done a lot of damage in all of these different relationships, and it's going to be a process to either figure out if they're willing to even accept you back into their lives, which is completely understandable, because I know in my life I've caused so much trauma for so many different people. There's some relationships that are just unmendable, and you have to accept that. One of the things that I really like to work with people with is writing letters to these people that you really, really hurt. And when you write this letter, it's not, please forgive me, I changed, take me back kind of letter. It's admitting all of the things that you've done over the years that you know hurt them.
Yeah, and it needs to be thoughtful, it needs to be authentic, and it also, you need to write, when you're writing a letter like this, you can't write it in a way where you're expecting a certain result or a certain outcome to follow. It needs to be authentic of what has happened in the past, what you're going to be doing to work on yourself, and you need to mean it. That's the biggest thing, because if you apologize for something and then you do the very thing that you just apologized for the next day, the next week, it means nothing, and you just destroyed trust once again to try to repair this relationship. So you really need to be detached from result, which is not easy, because our ego is we're trying to separate from our ego right now. We're trying to live with humility, and this is eating some humble pie. I mean, this is just straight up. It's admitting your wrongs, and it's seeing your side of it. So, or stating your side of it, excuse me.
And the one thing that I also ask it when you write these letters is, don't ask for forgiveness in that moment. Be like, I understand what I've done wrong, and I am sorry. I don't expect you to take my apology at this moment, but just know that I'm working to mend this relationship, create and fix the problems in my life, and become a better person. And whether you accept my apology or not, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me.
One of the things that I want to talk about too is that there's a lot of resentment in families with addiction. resentment and remorse, guilt, shame,
A lot
all
of
these
complications.
things. Yeah, absolutely. It's all over the place in families. And it can be very easy while you're in your active addiction to harbor resentments towards people that we're close with. And it's a jaded way to justify what we're doing, essentially. To continue getting high, we need to be constantly cultivating our mind to make it seem like it's okay. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you might be harboring resentment towards family members, but you're not seeing it from their side. And you might say, we just brought up talking about a letter and cleaning your side of the street, and you might be thinking, I'm not gonna clean my side of the street. I'm not gonna look at what they did,
Yeah.
And this is the tough part, right? Because you really need to be living in humility. You need to separate and look at it from an overview of what your part was that made family members react a certain way, and what was your side of it. It's really important to focus on and take accountability, like how we talked about before, for your side of it. Because if you don't, if you're focused on other people's part in it, you're feeding your ego. That's essentially what you're doing. And so it's very crucial to understand that you need to take side of your perspective. You need to take care of your side, and you can't expect family members to come out and take accountability for some of their shortcomings and things that have happened on their side.
This program is yours to work, not theirs.
That's right.
You'll feel better that you did it. So when you get all of these things together, I want you just to make a list of all the most important people in your life. And figure out how we're going to add value or mend these relationships, because they are important to you. And I want you to really think deep inside, how have you negatively impacted this relationship? And write it down sincerely. These letters can go a long way, but they go nowhere without action. Your actions speak louder than your words every single day of the week. So I want you to understand, when you write these letters, which is a very important part of this, write them, but then you have to back them up with action. This is just a preemptive start to this revolution that you're creating in your life.
It's laying the foundation.
Yes. It's letting them aware that you are making these changes. But without the fruits of your works, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So don't write these letters until you're ready to actually change your life and actually put effort into these relationships and actually have integrity and be honest and be faithful and do all the things that you're supposed to do. Because if you write one of these letters and you renege on what you're going to do, your word is worth nothing again. And this program is specifically designed to take care of every single aspect of your life to create a life that you love to live. So don't fast forward through something or half step through one of these processes and go to the next thing when you haven't really figured out how to do it successfully and right. What are some steps that you can take in each one of these relationships to make it better? And I know we all have them. See, what you need to understand is you want your support system to be raving fans of yours. That's why they're in your circle. They should love you to death. And there are things that you can do to create this. And I'm not talking about manipulation. I'm talking about fulfilling somebody's needs. But you need to understand their love language, and you need to know what their wants and needs are. And I know we've talked about the 6 human needs: certainty, variety, significance, love and connection, growth and contribution. What are their needs? What kind of person are they? How can you help them achieve their goals and what they want in their life and what their needs are? How can you be there for them? Emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. What are these things? You have to really understand the people in your life and how to address them properly.
And to touch on something, most people that we're close with, when they know we're going through our struggles and just getting clean, the one thing that they want is for you to do the right thing for yourself. They're going to be 9 times out of 10, they're going to be putting it back on you and say, I just want you to be doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And then you will be able to have a healthy relationship. More times than not, you will find that the people that we love are very, very simple. They want the best for us, because they're so used to seeing us destroy ourselves. So at the top of the list, I almost guarantee that they're going to say, I want you to continue down the right path. I want you to turn your life around because you want to make it a priority, not for me. Don't do it for them. You have to do it for yourself.
So important.
You have to have the strongest relationship needs to be with yourself. And because when that becomes the case, when you fill your cup, it overflows into everybody else's cup. And that's how it works. But don't do it for them. You have to make sure it's for yourself.
And for all the people that destroyed their lives up so much that they don't have anybody left in their lives, a big thing is you need to become who you want to attract in your life. You want to become who you want to attract in life. So if you're going to lie and you're going to manipulate and you're going to cheat, you're going to attract somebody on that level of playing field.
Whether they are that or they accept that.
Exactly. That's why I said it that specific way, because either they're going to be the same exact match and you're going to get it from karma, you're going to get the same exact aspect, or you're going to get somebody that's just willing to accept that because they have their own defects in their life. Yeah. And you don't want that. You don't want to be fixing people when you're trying to fix yourself. Yep. Okay? Some people like that you can control and manipulate people, but the fact of the matter, the fruit of that relationship is not going to be as fulfilling and joyous. So make a list. Figure out who you want to attract and what you need to be to attract that.
Yeah, something I like to do, it's a tremendous exercise, is come up with the biggest list that you could think of. I don't care if it's 30, 40, 50 qualities that you want in a partner, a closest friend, a family member, whatever the case may be. You got to write down what are things that you want from an individual. And a big one for me is loyalty. Something that comes to my head is loyalty. You could think about someone who's honest. I want someone that I can trust. I want someone who's going to be there to support me and is going to have integrity. I want someone who is punctual, is going to get really specific. All the things that you can think of. I want someone who shows affection. I want someone who knows that I know that they have my back when I need it. So you need to go through a really specific list and really break down the top 10. When you get a big list, the big list is kind of like your foundation. This is kind of, you're describing who you are in spirit. You might not be practicing these things that you want in a person, but this is what your spirit wants. This is who you need to be. And the reason I'm saying this is because you can make this list and come up with the 10 most important qualities, right? And this is going to be someone that you're going to be looking for, the 10 most important qualities. But the trick here is that you need to become these 10 qualities. So, for instance, if loyalty is very important to you, if you're someone who is unfaithful and is cheating on your partner, you need to work on that. You're not going to be attracting that. That's something you need to fix in yourself first. So this exercise of the 10 most important qualities is great because not only is it targeting what you want in other people, but it's also helping you target what you need to fix with yourself. Because you will not attract a healthy relationship if you aren't what you're trying to receive.
Well, that's all that we have for the relationships, but you got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of mending you need to do. There's a lot of soul searching you have to do. And you need to really figure out how you want to structure your life when it comes to the people around you, because you are only as strong as the people around you. I know I'm an emotional creature. If I go through a breakup or I have a family member that doesn't like me or my best friend doesn't want to talk to me, it affects me. And having a strong structure around you is really, really important. You don't want to be on this emotional roller coaster for the rest of your life, because when you're down here, you're going to want to use. When you're up here, you're going to want to use. And it's going to go back and forth until eventually you relapse. So really figure out who you want in your life, who you don't want in your life, and how you really want to live.